TikTok got banned for 12 hours
Did
and it
that
came back.
that was like a free for all.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Wild.
I thought I was gonna get fired. I thought my job was gonna be made redundant. I was it was really interesting seeing the people from TikTok, like the people that work at TikTok, like just the awkward TikToks that they would make for that like 12-hour window where they were like, "Hey, hey,
Hi, we're still here.
how y'all doing?" But yeah, I think we're going over this article in the newsletter. Subscribe now, but yeah, I think it's really interesting, like the effect that TikTok has had on marketing in general. Like when you think about marketing before TikTok, when it was just like straight on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, maybe the all the content was like so polished. It was so nice. It was so
Yeah, crisp.
demure, if you like.
Oh no, not this trend.
It was really candid. It was really everything seemed like super well thought out.
Yeah, like too well planned.
Yeah.
Like the reality versus the gram
Yeah.
was like not too cohesive.
No.
Yeah.
And like all brands in like it didn't matter what niche your brand was or how classy or like trashy your brand was. You all had the same like polished marketing campaigns. But then TikTok came around and that fucked everything up. And now we got fucking Duolingo looking like an insane batshit 15-year-old woman on the internet. Like it's crazy how much TikTok has flipped everything, I think.
Yeah.
And it's made every brand wanna like do their own thing and
Yeah.
become more unhinged than ever.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate the unhinged
It is nice. It's fun.
entertainment. It's like authentic as well. It's like, yeah, not so scripted,
Yeah,
which
it
I
made-
really appreciate.
Yeah. It made everything a much more like chaotic scene.
A little, yeah, bring the chaos. I feel
Like
like
the-
this week
yeah.
has been a bit chaotic. But like Be Real, for example, I feel like that also, like side by side with
Yeah.
TikTok, kind of like leveraged that, like, this is what I'm doing in this exact moment
Yeah.
right now. Like, I haven't like done anything to
Yeah.
this photo. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree. I also think that like, yeah, Be Real maybe has something to do with it, but I think that like the way that TikTok was like rewarding the algorithm was that like it made brands want to become people
Yeah.
rather than like people. I mean, people have been brands for the longest. Like, think any influencer, they're a brand, blah blah blah. But like, if you think, for example, like Duolingo, you think of that owl, you think of like that one person,
Yeah.
and
It's like the face, the
Yeah.
mascot. Yeah.
and they're having like real life personalities, even like with the trends that they participate in, so on and so forth. And that was so fresh at the time when TikTok was just coming around that people were like, "Whoa!" Like, I think the initial thing was shock. Like when you see like a super big company, like maybe some random Mitsubishi, like the car brand.
True.
You see like they push some like super weird trend that like in your head you think Mitsubishi shouldn't participate in.
Yeah, like it's
And-
almost not professional
Yeah.
in a sense for
And-
such a big
yeah.
global brand.
Yeah, and the comments always like are in shock of like of that. They're always going like, wait, how did this get approved? Or like, how did legal approve this? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I feel like the comment section in most of these like posts are actually what goes off the
Yeah.
most. Like sometimes if I want some entertainment, I'll just read the comments and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
facts. And
Yeah.
then there's just so many opposing opinions
Yeah.
and people wanting to have their say. And then that creates like a community too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on the comments thing, I think there's also a thing where like, whenever you see any viral TikTok that's gotten like more than, let's say, 500K likes or a million likes, the comment section is usually always filled with these brands.
True. Yeah.
Like, what business does Microsoft have in commenting on a TikTok? But Microsoft goes like, I don't know, they comment like real or so true bestie
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, it's that like brand interplay,
Yeah.
making them still be like a real person that is scrolling and
Yeah.
engaging with other brands.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like coming into this role, I've learned a lot about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Jess is in community management. I feel like I should have said that at the start. But, yeah. Yeah, it's really funny, and I think that like for a while, you wanted your you wanted your brand TikTok or your social media TikTok, your social media brand in general to have that feel of like, oh, the 19-year-old intern is running this account,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what people resonated with the most.
I completely agree. There's actually there's like a page that I found while I was living in New York, and it
Yeah.
was called like Protego Coco.
Uh-huh.
And it's like this wine store. And to be fair, like their social media managers are pretty onto the trends and
Yeah.
everything. But there's essentially these two elder gentlemen that almost seem like your grandparents or like your granddads,
Yeah.
and they are so unhinged. Like watching their videos, it just brings me so much joy. Like
Yeah.
I'm just cracking up because they're so like new to technology, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you kind of see how your grandparents
Yeah.
may like your parents
Yeah.
would interact with like social media and like their point of view and like yeah, just jumping on the trends straight
Yeah.
away, but in a way that I kind of personally didn't find it cringe. I found it like really engaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something in that as well. Like with, yeah, I was saying like how brands are becoming people, but it's almost like brands on TikTok anyway had to become TikTokers.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
whenever a big trend blew up, they had to participate in.
Yeah.
Like as a big brand, you couldn't ignore like, it's cringe now, but like looking back, you couldn't ignore like the word demure or like Brad Summer or like
Yeah.
all these like TikTok terms that were trending. As a brand, if you wanted to stay on people's minds, you had to participate in them.
Absolutely.
Love it or hate it. I hate most of them. But
I feel the same way.
but yeah, I think that you had to like become a TikToker because I feel like as a brand, you don't really have, especially as a bigger brand, you don't have too many chances to land on people's For You pages.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like I feel like it's usually one and done. But then
Yeah.
obviously if the viewer interacts with it, they get more of that. But
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, for a while that like, I don't know. I'd only get like the TikToks on my For You page from brands that would like be exploded in like virality. So like they'd have like more than like 1 million likes. So by the time
Yeah.
I see it, like 10 million people have seen it already. And so they've
Exactly.
got that like stamp of approval kind of thing.
Yeah, I also feel that like it changed the way we interact with marketing. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't super susceptible to most like ads and
Yeah.
like campaigns.
Yeah.
But then like there's definitely been some that have been like super authentic and or funny or it doesn't scream, "Hey, I'm an ad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell this
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
you." So then I was like subconsciously that planted so many seeds and like from a psych point of view,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whoa, actually I've been done
Yeah.
by the ad."
Yeah.
But in like a positive way, I would say, but then it's also dangerous. Dangerously positive.
Yeah, because like they've all kind of had to stop the whole idea of like selling like in your face.
Yeah.
They've all had to become like,
Like
I
I
guess
scroll
sneaky about it.
past.
Yeah, I
the
guess you have to be
straw.
like sneaky about the idea of selling on TikTok, especially because like when I think like Gymshark or Duolingo, they've never said, "Oh, download our app" or like buy our clothes.
Yeah.
There's this discount code, blah blah blah. It's always been, yeah, it's always been,
Indirect.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've always like participated as a TikToker, and then in my mind, because they've occupied so much of my For You page, when I think, oh, let me buy some like gym shorts, the first brand I think is Gymshark.
Yeah.
Let me learn a new language. The first app that comes to mind is Duolingo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
It's planting seeds.
Yeah.
And then there's like this kind of, I can't remember it exactly right now because it is too early for me. But there's this thing that's kind of like, if you interact, I think it's like 5 or 8 times with a brand or a person online, then the chances of you actually like pulling the trigger and making the purchase is way more likely because it's like that trust building, the
Yeah.
planting of the seed.
Yeah.
It's like,
I have heard
yeah.
of something similar where it was like, yeah, you have to like see something for I think it is maybe like 5 to 7 times before you buy it.
Yeah, I think it really depends on like what it is. Like
Yeah.
if it's a service or if it's
Yeah.
a product and like yeah, I could probably dive deeper, but right now.
No, you're good. You're good. We get more than enough. I think, yeah, like I also think that like just this last thing on TikTok that like these brands had to become so creative in terms of like their ads in terms
Yeah.
of like their selling.
Hmm.
Like I cannot think of any example for the life of me right now, but I'm sure there's always been like massive ad campaigns that like the call to action wasn't just like buy now.
Yeah, actually, my friend showed me this really, really interesting video the other day.
Mm.
And it was somewhere in Europe, but it almost seemed like a music video,
Yeah.
and the logo placement was so
Yeah.
discreet. I'm gonna link it to you
Yeah, yeah,
later
yeah.
because it's really cool. Like, and it kind of is selling more than just like the clothing because
Yeah.
the clothing is really not featured much in it at
No.
all. And it seems like it's more of a culture, like
Yeah.
you're buying into a culture. It's kind of like streetwear and a bit edgy.
Mhm.
And like that kind of blew my mind thinking, like, I thought it was a music video,
Yeah.
but then the discreet placement
Yeah.
and honestly, the editing,
Yeah.
I'm definitely, yeah, I need
And
to
then
send this through to
yeah, and then if
you.
you're into clothing, you catch that piece of clothing or that like logo placement for a little bit, and then you start doing like your own investigating into what this brand is, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, that just gives you more space for you to organically interact with the brand, and then that's like
Hmm.
that's every brand's dream
Yeah.
is for
No,
you to like
honestly, they're doing it
look
so
for them.
well. I need to like pull it up.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. So I think that like the takeaway is that even with the risk of like TikTok going away or like it being gone,
Hmm.
the impact it's had on marketing will stay.
I definitely
Like
agree. Yeah.
I think it's really funny how like the brands or even like people just in general, everybody's TikTok strategy is now the same for Instagram.
Yeah. So
Like
like reels, and reels are now 3 minutes.
yeah,
So it's more short form entertainment.
yeah,
It's not just like
2 seconds.
watch
Yeah,
this quick,
yeah,
like dopamine hit.
yeah,
Like they want to tell a story.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so if TikTok goes away, its impact won't.
Or New Zealand, I mean, are we gonna ban it?
Yeah,
Like, will New Zealand TikTok just blow up, or
let's hope
Europe?
not.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah. But the world does kind of revolve around, like, on my For You page.
yeah,
It's also, I've just been in the States,
yeah,
but I feel like a lot of TikTok
yeah.
has
South America.
stemmed from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just whatever you're posting on TikTok, just post on Instagram. It'll work the same.
Yeah. Cross pollination, like, in a way, I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, they're slightly different, but there's a lot of overlaps,
Yeah.
and authenticity is definitely key.
Yeah.
Yeah.